Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith, and we're out here with Buffy again. A quick call out for James. James Leakey sent me a package with all kinds of goodies in here for Buffy. Says, "Hey Keith, big fan of your videos as well as the rest of the machining community. I had mentioned in your Buffy 2 spindle bearing video that I had some brake shoes and other Bridgeport VS variable speed parts that do not work in my step pulley head. Not 100% sure of which model. Use what you can. In my brief research, it looks like a disc key and insert, high-low detent plate and plunger, brake shoe, and some bushings. Several plastic bore liner bushings, a worm, but not sure where it fits, a lock shoe of some sort. Hope you can use it all. Keep up the great work. Jim Leakey." All right, Jim. Excellent. And we got everything out of the box. And there is the plunger and plate for back gear, and I got that over here. And what a good call, because I'll give you a close up on this. This is less than it's not even up to minimum wear. It's got a pretty good wear, so that is going to be a big plus on that part. The brake shoes, I already took and held those up to the brake shoes that I pulled out of this thing, and excellent. They're exactly the same model. The snap ring, I remember pulling that snap ring out. The keys are a little bit different than the keys that I received in the bushing kit there, and I'm going to be going and taking a close look at them and see if they're maybe a step up or not. They are a slight bit different. It looks like they're the same size and same configuration, but one has like a metal insert into it, and I think the other ones are all 100% plastic. The sleeves, if I don't end up using the sleeves, because I have 2 sleeve kits already, I would definitely offer these for anybody else that needs them as well. And then not sure yet on the wedge and the bushings and things like that in here, but I have to just say thank you very much. I appreciate, and it fell right in there, and you hit a couple good spots that definitely needed to be replaced on Buffy. All right, where are we at with Buffy? Well, we went ahead and pulled our engagement for our power feed, and we polished up the components, both that and the flange face here. So those are kind of ready to go back together, but we're going to leave them off until we paint the actual head. The next step is we're going to be pulling the travel and trip rod out of here, and we know that our little dog bone part in here is good on this mill. We're questionable about on the other mill, because I never did have trip on, excuse me, I never had trip on the way up. And where you can see that when you hold a little bit of pressure on this, and you can see the 2 plungers through the top here, and you can see that bone is tripping, and that's what it does, is that comes up and then pushes that down, trips that out. And so that bone there, if you don't have that bone in there, you're not going to get an automatic trip on the way out. So it'll turn into a bind situation. May pop out in some other fashion that's undesirable, but that's what that's all about. So we proved that we actually have one. We're going to be pulling that out of here, and I'll show you how to get that thing out in the next video. All right. I get a lot of comments about the bearing suppliers and all of that. H&W Machinery Repair on the internet. They're great group. Everybody compliments them on what they have to offer, their information, all of that, and some of the stuff that I've ordered online actually comes from there. Great host. I chose to go ahead and go through my dealer and get the main spindle bearings. Now, I didn't pay less than you would get through H&W. About $400 for my set of bearings here for the main spindle. I went with Timken seal bearings, And I'm going to be installing these on here and going through that in a future video. And Timken is merged with Fenner now, and so I'm going to be trying these out. I'm going to be the guinea pig for these. All right. And the top bushing or bearing that's normally open like this is a shielded bearing. So I'm still going to be using my oiler. In fact, okay, here it is here. Because I pulled it out, I got to buff that, right? I'll still be using this, but and still have the felt on there, and it'll put a little bit of oil down into the shielded bearing. They'll still be able to get down into that shielded bearing. All right, and then the two bottom ones will be sealed. All right, we'll get into that, but I just wanted to kind of get onto that. These are two main spindle bearings here, and I went ahead and pressed this one back together. Here's a quick view of me putting that in the arbor press and pushing and popping that inner race back into the outer one. Okay, this is the main spindle bearing out of the Bridgeport, and this is the one that came apart in two pieces, and we slid the inner race off of the shaft. And I put the balls in there with the retainer, and then I slipped this in here, and you can see that this just rocks in here. Okay, it's not mounted down in there, but we're going to go ahead and pop this back down in here. Even though we're not going to reuse this bearing, we're just going to show you that you can pop a bearing back together. And this is the little arbor press here, and we'll bring down our ram here. Okay, and that's simple. It's hardly any force at all. Okay, awesome. It's all put back together. Okay, and that was just to show you that if you do happen to pop a bearing like this apart, you can put it together, and making sure that they are clean and lubricate, and then in case of emergency, you'd be able to put those back together. All right, where are we going with this today? And we're going to go ahead and we've pulled this plate off of here because we want to pull our motor apart. Now we can spin that. Okay, it doesn't sound totally bad, but it does have a little bit less than perfect sound to those bearings and everything else in there. So we want to go ahead and pull this apart. Hey, we're this far, why not? Now we came up to a pressed-on cooling fan on the top. And that's like, press it on, see you later, goodbye. All right. Why, you know, to replace bearing and things like that in these motors, you got to pull that off of there. I know that they make these with a clamp on system, and you can clamp it on and take it on and off. And this flexes. Okay, this is like rubber. Okay, so there's no way that you're going to get a puller and everything else on here. I'm going to try something, and we're going to be taking this into the shop, and I'll set it up in there, and we're going to make an attempt to pull this off so that we can reuse that blade. And then we'll be able to pull off our ends, and then we'll be able to buff that, and we'll be able to buff that, and we'll be able to buff that. Hey, this is Buffy, right? All right. So before we go in, what else do we have that's new here? Okay, the last couple of weeks or so, we've done some dickering around and some trading. We were offered a little blast cabinet, and we said, well, you know, we were like that. We've been like that for a long period of time. And of course, this is exactly the size that I would want. And it didn't look like this when I first got it, but like anything else, I've turned chicken shit into chicken salad by the time I'm done with it. And I'm not quite done with it yet, but I've got this thing to where I've actually already started blasting some parts in here. First off, there was some oil spilled in here, and oil filled into this the light cavity, and the light was shining through dirt clods, and there wasn't much in here. Light to be able to come through here, and the gloves were almost perfect, a few little holes in there, and of course Vanessa loves this flex tape as seen on TV. Flex tape actually makes good little patches. It's like putting a patch on your inner tube on your tire, and it works pretty good in here. I'm real happy with that. This is a top and a side loader, and of course the gasket material was totally wasted out. So I went ahead and I picked up new material, complete gasket all the way around, and the same thing with the door. And then I adjusted the door so that it locks in nice and tight. When I turn this thing on, the gloves go out straight. It is sucking through the fresh air vent over here, but it still is so tight that it does draw on the gloves, and that's a good sign. One, that I have the vacuum over here. The top is a little cracked up, but it functions perfectly fine and goes on with no problem. And everything is all set up here. I had to pull apart the safety valve here, and somebody had taken it apart and then put I don't know how they figured it out, but they put the spring on the opposite side of the plunger, and anyway, it did not transfer the air through when it was stepped on, and was able to go ahead, have everything all timed, so the electrical, the air, everything is working fine on here. And I've already been blasting on some of my parts. I left them in here because I'm not to the point where I want to start priming yet, but I did pick up some rusty metal primer, and that's what I'm going to be coating these with. I do have the pulleys in here. I haven't pulled out the sleeves yet. We're going to be doing that as promised. This is actually one of the solid ones, and this is the one that floats back and forth and actually has the sleeves on there, and the spring pack actually sits on that one. The larger ones are in here as well. So this got here just in time to make sure that I'm doing Buffy the best I can do. Alright, so anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit of something I got new. Now this is a sand ball. Okay, now I've been putting a couple hours. I have no sand in here right now because the seals and everything else are new. I have a box, an extra supply of all of those seals, and I'll just keep replacing those as necessary. That's a regular consumable item, is your rubber seals on this. Same with the plexiglass here, plexiglass in there. I probably will get some peel offs. I might even put a piece of glass in here. Who knows how much I use this or how far I go with this, but I do want it to at least be sound, because this is a dirt ball, and then right here I have my Inco saw, and that's an oil bath. Okay, so that's almost a near impossibility to get those two to live together, like a wood shop and a metal shop. Hey, we'll just play it by ear and see what we're doing. Okay, let's head on into the shop there, and we're going to see if we can pull off this fan. Alright, we already got our drill press set up here, and I wanted to be able to slide this right down inside there. Okay, and then we can rotate that around. Because what we're going to do, we're going to take a ball bearing and we're going to drop it into that center so that we don't damage that center. We have one of our little pullers that we cut out on a plasma cam, and then we weld a nut on it, and then we tap down through the hole so that we have a matching hole. This is a square head set screw, and it has a cup point on there, and that will ride right on the ball. Now I have 2 1/4-20s, and that's what I kind of set these slots up here so that they can adjust in and out like that. We're going to go ahead and lay out straight in line, straight across there as best as we can, equal distance out. We're going to mark it, and we're going to come down in here, we're going to drill, and we're going to tap out 2 puller holes that will be into the center of the hub, or the meat of the hub that's behind here. And then we're going to put our bolts in there, and we're going to try to pull this out. This is probably the most common sense way of approaching this in my mind, and it may fail, but if we don't try, we're not going to know. We're not afraid of finding another type of fan that will go on here. And if this kind of works, then we have a go-to process in the future if we run into this problem again. Okay, this is where the key, this looks like a keyway is, you know, part of, this is protruding down into the key. It's kind of hard to tell where the plastic ends and the steel starts in here somewhat. And there's like a little tang there, a little tang there, so we don't know quite what's going on here. But this does look like it's a separate section, creates a little friction there on the key, and who knows, it actually, without really knowing how they put these things on here, there may be a quick release on this thing. And I might be going through a whole bunch of stuff that really doesn't need to be going through. But I'm going to go ahead and put one hole there, and I'm going to put one hole over here on this side here. So I'm kind of going to eyeball this straight across here. And give myself a scribe line. And it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Alright, now we're going to come out here and we're going to eyeball. Right about there is the edge of our hub out there. So anywhere in between there, probably like right about there. We're just going to go 200 thousandths outside. And I'm going to hold this the same way, so I'm scribing it exactly the same way. Okay. Heck, that looks good. Alright. We'll set up our mini drilling machine here. We're going to have to put this in direct drive too. There we go. Alright, let's bring this down close so we can start steering or sliding this thing into position. And it looks like we're going to have to loosen up our pivot. So, and our camera is set up in the way. So we're going to stop you and adjust you. Okay, we got you moved over, but we also put in one of our tap followers because we just like to use it as the pointer. And basically that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be coming down and we're rotating this around, which will actually put us, this just by doing it this way here, outward from that shaft of the pivot rotation, that almost self-corrects that alignment from there to there. I didn't put a center punch marker at all because we're going to let the drill create the point. Whether that's a plus or minus, that's another question. Alright, I got to raise this up. Change and put our drill bit in here. Come down here a little closer. Alright. And I'm going to have to look sideways on here so that I got the alignment that way. I'm just holding it steady with my hand. All right, I went through. The other side. All right, and that went through. All right, take this up out of the way here. There we go. Pull our drill bit out of here so we don't scratch the back of our hands. And we're going to go ahead and hand tap those. We don't need any lube or anything else. This is plastic. Just kind of lightly letting it follow the hole, which will be a straight hole. Okay, went down there. I could actually feel it push up the in-play on whatever's in-play there is in there. I kind of like felt it click a little bit. Like PVC material almost. It could be exactly what that is, but we're going to make sure that we have quite a bit of threads down into this hole so that we get the maximized hole. Okay, same thing there, we felt the bottom. Okay, we're gonna blow those out with the air nozzle. There's our ball. Now we're going to start this with this down as far as possible, which would be about there. Our puller actually might need to be a little tiny bit opened up on that inside there. I'm about 30 thousandths shy of coming in close enough. All right, so we're going to modify our holder and we'll be right back. All right, we milled them in and we were able to get them in there, but the head's here interfering with the head of the nut there. So we flipped the whole thing over. We got a little bit longer bolt and we still have 1 inch of thread engagement down in there. We put a 5/16 nut, which is a good spacer for a 1/4 inch bolt. Still gives it a pivot, still works good, support, everything else. Now we put in our jack screw. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of Never-Seez on here because it helps slide and the friction is a lot less when you do that. Alright, we coated that up. We didn't necessarily need to bring the can out here, so we just walked the bolt into the can. Alright. Now we got... Okay, we're starting to come down in on the bolt now, and I can already see it starting to lift. You see that? I don't know if we'll run out of travel. No, I don't think so. Look at that. Okay. Awesome. And our bolts, look at that. We're right at the bottom. And that is a wire spring-loaded piece there. And there's our shaft. All right. We can pull our components off of here. Pretty cool. Alright, I pulled my puller off of here, and you know, these could have been out a little bit farther, and the puller probably could have worked without me doing the modifications, but I wasn't exactly sure, because you could see that this is actually kind of like tapered. And when you're looking down in the shadows and you're making the best guesstimate, go to the safe side, and that's what I did. So, but getting this off without damaging it or damaging this non-ferrous ring, which now I can pull this off of here, and I want to buff this, like I said, and I want to buff that, and I want to buff that down in there. But I also want to get the motor apart to get the bearings out of there. And while we're doing this, will be every single bearing in the upper end that we're doing, except for maybe a little bit on the the trip or the feed mechanism, because I'm not going to pull that all the way out. I don't see any problem with it right now. Sometimes it takes a little bit to take a break, walk away, think about it a little bit, and I came up with this idea instead of trying to pry in on this rubber and all of that kind of stuff. So I didn't put any pecker marks on it before I actually made an attempt, and so it's always a good feeling in my book. All right, until the next time, get her done.